American icon, Olympic gymnast Simone Biles has now withdrawn from the individual all-around competition after leaving midway through yesterday's team final. The fact that she may or may not compete in next week's events is right now of secondary importance. Instead, the focus is on her well-being. She says physically she is fine, but emotionally and mentally it is not the same story. So bravely, she's taking a step back. The reaction back home has been largely positive, loving, in fact, with the exception of what we'll call the usual suspects. People mostly on social media who describe themselves as patriots, but who've also, in recent days and weeks, attacked U.S. military leaders, American police, scientists, vaccines, all that stuff, you know, the good stuff. Joining our conversation, Jemele Hill, contributing writer to The Atlantic and host of the Jemele Hill is Unbothered podcast on Spotify. Also joining us, Paul Rieckhoff, founder of the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, president of Righteous Media, and the host of the Independent Americans podcast. If you follow him on Twitter, you know he's wearing flip-flops. So I have to tell you guys what I really thought when I saw this. My first thought was just this ache for this jewel. She's one of the world's preeminent athletes. She's exquisite. And I found it soul-crushing to see a little pocket of, you know, doughy, white, right-leaning losers who probably have a hard time getting dates attack her. And I think if we want to know the answer to the question, how effed up is our country, just look at the reaction to what happened this week in Tokyo with Simone Biles. You first, Jemele.
Well, I agree with you. Simone Biles is extraordinary. And I think what we forget is what she has been through on a personal level. She's the only athlete who's competing, or only gymnast that's competing in these Olympics that was victimized by Larry Nassar. And the only reason that she decided to compete in this Olympics is because, you know, there's a new crop of gymnasts. I think she takes her responsibility as an ambassador very seriously. So to think that some part of that would not weigh in on her or weigh on her is really, it's asking a lot. And so in addition to the fact that Simone Biles, essentially, at this point, the greatest gymnast ever. Don't at me, don't debate me. She is. And she has done things so extraordinary that they can't even really figure out how to score her. That's how good that she is. So to act as if Simone Biles owed us anything is crazy. This woman has given this sport everything. Even when the powers that be enabled somebody to violate her, she still gave it her all. So for people to question how mentally tough she is, I find that to be disgusting.
Paul, I wanted to talk to you about this as well, and I want to read you a tweet from Martin Dempsey that caught my eye last night. Where there's no struggle, there's no strength. Oprah Winfrey, putting team before self. Simone Biles showed real strength today. Hope to see her back soon, but in the meantime, by her example, she reminds us that character matters. Saw several tweets calling Simone Biles weak. Compared to who? That would be laughable, except that it's intended to be hurtful. It's hard to get to the top and even harder to stay there. We should expect no more of our heroes than we do of ourselves, our best. This vein has been tapped, where defending our heroes now falls to some of our military leaders who are also under attack by some of the same characters. Explain.
Well, there are some parallels there, but when you talk about Simone Biles, she is a true American hero. She's a true patriot. She's a true badass. I mean, she's an inspiration to people around the world, not just because of what she does in the Olympics, but what she does, you know, in the community and as an example and as a leader. She's what you want young men and women to be. She's what we want young men in America to be, young men and women in America to be. This is what right looks like. And, you know, I don't like to feed the trolls. I don't want to talk about the haters and the people who want to drag her down. But there is a learning lesson here, because I teach little kids and I coach little kids. I coach t-ball. I coach flag football. And they are taught to be teammates, to put the team above themselves. And if they're hurt, to step off, because that's for the betterment of the team. So she's showing tremendous strength here. And to attack her is not just despicable, it's dangerous, because it'll discourage other people from coming forward and seeking mental health support, from saying that they're having problems. Showing that you need help is a sign of strength. And that's the really important moment here. So her impact in this moment maybe even greater than the impact she's had in the Olympics, because she's undoubtedly saving lives. She's encouraging other people to come forward, no matter what these haters on cable news or in Congress have to say.
Let me follow up with you, Paul, because there is a parallel. I remember being so haunted by the book, Thank You for Your Service, about some of the wounds you cannot see from Iraq and Afghanistan being the hardest for veterans to sort of deal with and come home with, PTSD and psychological damage. And I wonder what what she's sort of tapped in terms of making a mental health setback as grave as some physical injury that we could all see.
Well, mental health is total health. And we've been trying to have this conversation in America for over 20 years. For 15 years, I've been working in the veteran space, trying to change the dialogue around mental health support, trying to explain post-traumatic stress disorder and suicide. And we've made tremendous progress. But let's imagine this criticism focused on someone different. Imagine if it was focused on a Navy SEAL or a Green Beret who said, you know what, I'm going in to get bin Laden, but I'm not feeling all right now. I'm not feeling ready for the mission, so I'm going to take myself out of the mission. Who would call that person a coward? Who would criticize that person? I hope no one, but in this new normal, that man or woman would probably be under attack too. But there's an example that Simone Biles is setting, and that many veterans have set, that I hope will cascade down across our country, and especially to young people. If you need help, reach out. If you need help, you will be supported. There's help out there, and you're not alone. That's the message. Ignore the haters, focus on your total health, and you'll be stronger for it.
Jamel, I want your thoughts on that, but I want to put out there a brilliant Jamel quote here and get you to expand on this as well. So two-parter for you. You said this back in June. As impressive as her consistent dominance is, what Biles has come to mean to black culture, to women, and especially to black women, is bigger than her all-out assault on the record books. Her excellence is an act of resistance. She is openly mocking expectations about what she should or shouldn't do. Through her performances, she is creating a previously inconceivable new standard for her sport.
Well, the reason that I wrote that, Nicole, was just because the one thing that I loved about Simone Biles and still love about Simone Biles and still love about her is she's so unapologetic about her greatness and her dominance. This is a very self-aware woman. And that's why I'm not surprised that she was self-aware enough to know that she didn't have it, because she was, however grand she has made it be, she knows what that looks like. And anybody who follows gymnastics knows that given what they're doing with their bodies and at such a high rate of speed and such a dangerous degree of difficulty, especially her, who has 4 moves named after her, that the slightest bit of being off, not being completely mentally there, not being focused enough, and she could wind up seriously hurt. And it was a complete act of selflessness for her to take herself out of competition so that she wouldn't hurt the rest of her American teammates. And a lot of people don't seem to get that. Again, Simone Biles has nothing to prove to you, especially not to people who certainly have never exhibited any level of the same mental fortitude and strength that she has. She has already proven to be one of the best athletes of all time. She's already the greatest gymnast ever. So to me, she understood the assignment, accomplished the mission. And if she just that she needed a mental break, she knows herself better than we do. And so I think this is a time for people to just fall back and support her. I guarantee you, Nicole, the people criticizing Simone Biles, calling her mentally weak, have never come close to being as good at their job as Simone Biles is at hers.
I am sure you are right about that. Jamel and Paul are sticking around. On the other side of the break, an attack on another American hero. We'll hear that haunting testimony from Capitol Police Officer Ganell next.